Some wars are etched into history with fire and blood. Waterloo, Stalingrad, the Battle of the Bulge. But some wars are all but forgotten. A quiet conflict born from an insult and a claim to a piece of land that was never theirs to begin with. This is the story of the War with Mustachistan. Founded in 1977 by a man named Kevin Baugh, the Republic of Molossia is nestled in the desert landscape of Nevada. But its history goes far deeper than the formal establishment of this quirky nation. The region itself has long been the battlefield for conflict stretching back centuries. Before it was Molossia, this land witnessed the brutal clashes between indigenous tribes and European settlers. As colonizers pushed into Native American territories, blood was spilled under the hot desert sun. Battles that echo through history, leaving curses that still linger today. Molossia, despite its small scale, was not immune to its own conflicts. Baugh's creation sparked odd interactions with the surrounding community. Local residents have often reported unusual occurrences, lights flickering mysteriously, echoes of laughter in the dead of night, and even what they described as paranormal manifestations of phantom soldiers near its borders. But this isn't just folklore. It's a legacy interwoven with the identity of Molossia itself. With numerous self-identified micronations, Molossia stands out as it embraces the absurd, balancing on the edge of reality and parody. But one question lingers. What happens when people defy the natural order? It was 1999. The Molossian government, seeking to establish itself on the world stage, rallied its citizens. They fashioned themselves not just as a micronation, but as a formidable entity ready to battle for their recognition. Indeed, every war needs a cause. Little did the residents know. The path they tread was fraught with peril. The specters of their past history haunted them. Conflicts that were not sparked by foreign antagonism, but from within. Divisions formed. While Baugh dreamed of grandeur, his so-called allies whispered rumors. Brothers turned against brothers, and alliances crumbled as each faction fought for the faceless shadows of leadership. The land, soaked in despair, echoed with the cries of the fallen. As they fought, one question loomed over them. Was this fight for independence, or their own doom? In 2006, in the desolate landscapes of Nevada, two great nations stood on the brink of war. The Republic of Molossia, a land of ancient traditions and a proud people, and its rival, the nation of Mustachistan. A nation that wouldn't even exist without Molossian aid. A nation founded by a friend. But that friendship was a fragile thing. Sultan Ali Oxenfree, the charismatic leader of Mustachistan, was no longer content to live under the shadow of his former ally. He began to press his claim on Molossian territory, insisting that Molossia was nothing more than a vassal state. It was an insult President Baugh could not abide. Tensions escalated as diplomatic talks failed. And then came the River Park incident. A public park, a place of peace and recreation, became the new battleground. Sultan Ali Oxenfree, in a brazen act of defiance, posted a sign, barring Molossians from the park. A sign which was immediately and rather predictably removed. This was a line crossed, a deep psychological wound. War was now a real and terrifying possibility. Molossia, a nation built on peace, now stood on the precipice of a conflict it didn't want. The Molossian Navy infantry was mobilized, its forces placed on high alert. No one knew when or where the first blow would fall. And then, on May 22, 2006, the impossible happened. A state of war was declared. Mostashistani forces were spotted by Sutri Creek, just a kilometer from the Molossian frontier. Their mission? To move in and occupy Molossia. President Ba gave a short but effective speech.
This action will not stand. Our military is effective, bold, and courageous, and I'm confident that it will prevail.
The Molossian naval infantry moved to confront the enemy in the western front. A new front opened up in the east. A small, seemingly insignificant body of water known as Lake Jean became the stage for a dramatic naval showdown. Two Molossian destroyer vessels, the MS-3 Boomer and the MS-4 Old Town, faced off against two Mostashistani kayaks, the Dagger and the Corsica. A full day of naval skirmishes ensued. In the end, when the water settled, Molossia was the victor, and the Mostashistanis were repelled. But this was only the first battle. The Molossian naval infantry was still on the march, and the true showdown with the Mostashistani army was yet to come. They found the enemy troops waiting for them in a place called Black Lizard Canyon. A place of jagged rocks, twisted juniper trees, and the ominous promise of an ambush. As the Molossian troops advanced, a shot rang out. The Molossians were under attack. The battle was on. Both sides exchanged fire, and then, in a moment of pure, unadulterated bravery, the Molossians charged. They pushed the Mostashistanis back, and for a moment, it seemed as if the battle was won, but something was off. The enemy had retreated, but they hadn't been defeated. They had vanished, swallowed up in the vast, unforgiving canyon. The Molossian commander made a tactical choice. He would not pursue. He would wait. He would establish a defensive position. He would secure the battlefield. But the Mostashistanis, a ghost in the desert wind, were already regrouping. They were planning their next move, and they would make sure it was a move Molossia would never forget. Following their impressive retreat at Black Lizard Canyon, the army of Mostashistan seemed to melt away into the Nevada wilderness. Days turned into a tense waiting game. Scouting patrols were dispatched. The Molossian Navy infantry remained vigilant. It was an eerie calm before the storm. A quiet that hinted at a deeper, more sinister strategy. Then, on June 3rd, a breakthrough. Molossian scouts reported movement near Mosquito Bend along the Carson River. And the next morning, at precisely 9 a.m. Molossian Standard Time, President Ba authorized a daring amphibious assault. A surprise attack from the water. It sounded impressive, didn't it? But the reality was somewhat less dramatic. The Mostashistanis caught off guard nonetheless, scattered like startled jackrabbits in the Nevada desert. Molossian forces pursued, their righteous fury propelling them forward. The chase led them to Rattlesnake Raft, a narrow defile near the place ominously named Heliotrope Falls. Here, trapped like something quite effectively trapped, the Mostashistanis decided to make their last stand. Repeated Molossian volleys failed to dislodge the stubbornly entrenched enemy. A decision was made. a daring maneuver. Flank them from above. The climb was treacherous, the rocks unforgiving, but the valiant naval infantry, they unleashed all hell upon the Mustachistanis. The effect was decisive. The enemy ranks broke. The will to fight evaporated faster than a puddle in the Nevada sun. The surrender was swift. The captured Mustachistanis, their dreams of territorial expansion thoroughly deflated, were marched back to Molossia. Their final destination was Molossia's Friendship Gateway, a fitting multi-purpose detention center. And so the armed conflict phase of the war with Mustachistan came to an end. Negotiations began. Treaties were signed. On June 8, 2006, peace was officially declared, and the terms were specific. The treaty simply stated, relinquish all claims to Molossia, respect Molossian rights to visit the river park, and to pay war reparations, in the form of cookie dough, 1 tube a month for 6 months. Cookie dough, the sweet taste of victory, and perhaps a subtle reminder of who held the upper hand. President Ba, ever the gracious victor, extended a hand of friendship. Friends turned enemies, and enemies became cordial. The war with Mustachistan passed into legend, a conflict marked not by earth-shattering battles or devastating losses, but by stubborn pride, questionable territory claim, and the strategic development of snack foods. The battlefields were preserved, a silent testament to the war that was both bizarre and in its own way unforgettable. A reminder that even the smallest of nations, with the most peculiar of grievances, can find themselves in the archives of history's mysteries.